The alarm went off at 4:45 in the morning. I didn't hit snooze right away and let it ring for several seconds. Its harsh sound sliced through my sleep like a dull blade. I reached out to turn it off and sat up in the dark. The other side of the bed was empty. My husband was still working the night shift. I got out of bed quietly and dressed in the dark. My name is Rosa Mendoza. I'm 43, an immigrant from Mexico. 10 years ago, my husband and I crossed the border illegally. We trekked through the desert for 3 days and 3 nights. I thought that life would be better once I got to America. Now I know a good life isn't handed to you, you have to fight for it. My family of 3 lives in a small 2-bedroom apartment. My daughter is Sophia. She's 13 and in 8th grade. Her dream is to become a dancer. She takes dance lessons every Saturday, which cost $250 a month. I can afford it because I work overtime 4 days a week, standing 4 extra hours each day. But I don't mind one bit. That's my little girl's dream. I walked into the kitchen, warmed up some milk and poured it into a thermos. I wrapped yesterday's leftover tortillas in aluminum foil. That was my lunch. I never bring fancy food to work. There's no microwave to heat it up. At 5:10, I headed out and walked to the bus stop. The sky was still pitch black, and the streetlights cast a dim glow. While waiting for the bus, I counted the loose change in my pocket. $2.75. The bus fare was $2.50, leaving me with just 25 cents. I needed another $2.50 for the ride home, so I only had enough for a one-way trip. It was fine though. My husband works the day shift now, and he'd pick me up on his way home tonight. He wasn't going out of his way, just passing by. The bus pulled up at 5:30. There weren't many passengers, just other people heading to early morning shifts. Janitors, cooks, security guards, all kinds of blue-collar workers. I sat in the back row by the window, watching the city shift from deep black to navy blue. Chicago's skyline glimmered in the distance, yet the lights in those tall office buildings were still off. Only convenience skirts, gas stations, and bakeries were lit up, and our laundry room, its lights never went out. At 6 o'clock sharp, I walked into the staff entrance of Lakefront Grand Hotel. I passed the kitchen and caught the rich smell of bacon. I walked by the banquet hall, where wine glasses from the night before still hadn't been cleared away. I headed down the stairs to the basement, where the laundry room was located. The door stood open, and a cloud of steam, mixed with the scent of laundry detergent, washed over me. The laundry room was huge, lined with more than a dozen industrial washing machines, each capable of handling 200 pounds of bed linens at a time. The machines rumbled loudly, just like rolling thunder. I pulled on rubber gloves and walked over to the sorting table. Today's pile of white bedsheets sat waiting, looking like a snow-capped mountain. I lifted an armful of linens, loaded them into a washer, poured in detergent, closed the door, and hit start. The machine began to spin, and I waited. While I waited, I checked the duvet covers washed the night before for any stains that hadn't come out. If I found any, I'd toss them back in to rewash. If they were clean, I'd fold them neatly and stack them onto a cart. I repeat this routine hundreds of times every single day. Frank, our supervisor, showed up. He arrived promptly at 6:30 every morning, always holding a cup of coffee. His big belly stuck out like a woman 8 months pregnant. He stood in the doorway and glanced around the laundry room, just like a general inspecting his troops. No one dared to look at him, yet everyone could feel his stare. His gaze creeped over our backs like bugs, making us uneasy. Frank was in his 40s, balding, and wore thin gold-rimmed glasses. He had a habit of pointing his finger at people when he spoke, and whoever he singled out always got extra work that day. He walked over to the work schedule, jabbed a finger at it, then turned and left. I didn't even need to check, I knew exactly where my name was listed. For 5 straight years it was always the same spot, laundry room duty Monday through Friday, and overtime work on weekends. Overtime was listed as voluntary, but we couldn't earn enough money to get by if we turned it down. So everyone said they volunteered, but in truth, we had no choice. It was the 15th of the month, payday. It was the day we all looked forward to most. Frank carried a stack of pay envelopes and handed them out one by one. When he called your name, you'd walk over, take your envelope and say thank you. I stepped forward, took my envelope and mumbled my thanks. He shot me a strange look, the corners of his mouth twitching slightly. It wasn't a smile, more like a knowing smirk. Maria worked right next to me. She spoke, read and wrote English much better than I did. She tore open her envelope, checked her pay stub, and frowned deeply. Then she grabbed my pay stub, took a quick look, and her face turned pale. Rosa, how many overtime shifts did you work last month?
8 days, 4 hours each day. Look at this. They only counted 3 days of overtime for you. I couldn't read the English words on the paper, but I could make out the numbers clearly. 3 days. 8 days had been cut down to 3.
My head started buzzing, like a washing machine stuck with something foreign inside.
What happened to the other 5 days?
Maria lowered her voice, afraid others would overhear us.
He stole those hours. Frank fudges everyone's pay stubs every month. He rounds down our overtime and cuts off extra hours entirely. He's been doing this for 3 years, stealing tens of thousands of dollars every year.
My hands began to shake. It wasn't from the cold. It was pure anger.
I get up at 4 every morning, ride the bus for 45 minutes, stand for 8 hours straight, and wash hundreds of sheets every day. My hands are cracked, and my back aches so badly I can barely stand upright. I worked 8 extra shifts, standing 4 more hours each time and washing 200 more sheets.
Yet 5 full days of overtime pay just vanished into thin air. I didn't know the exact amount I'd lost, but I knew it was enough to cover my daughter's dance classes for a whole month. It would have paid for half my bus fees for 2 weeks. Or a new pair of rubber gloves that wouldn't make my hands crack open. Did you report this to Human Resources?
I did. It didn't do any good. The HR manager is his brother-in-law. My heart sank in my chest. His brother-in-law. Frank wasn't acting alone. This was a whole corrupt setup.
Everyone from the laundry room up to HR was on his side. Us laundry workers are just the lowest rung on the ladder. No one would listen to our complaints. At noon that day, I sat on the stairwell behind the laundry room and ate my cold tortillas. The hot sauce was way too salty, and I had no water, so I struggled to swallow the dry food. Maria sat down beside me, also eating tortillas. She has 2 kids, a 13-year-old son and an 8-year-old daughter. Her husband worked construction, but he broke his leg a few months ago and has been recovering at home ever since. She's the sole breadwinner for her whole family now.
Maria, have you ever added up how much Frank has stolen over these 3 years?
I have. There are 20 of us women working here. On average, each of us loses $200 every month.
That's $4,000 total each month, $48,000 a year, $144,000 over 3 years.
$144,000. My heart thumped loudly in my chest. We have to do something about this.
What can we do? Sue him? None of us can write in English? Talk to the management? HR is run by his relative. Fight him? He's taller and stronger than all of us.
Everything Maria said was the hard truth. But I couldn't just stand by and do nothing. When I got home that night, my daughter was already asleep. I sat down at the kitchen table, took out a blank piece of paper and a pencil. I wanted to write a letter to the hotel management and expose what Frank was doing. But I couldn't write English. I only knew how to spell my own name, Rosa, just 4 letters, and it took me ages to learn to write them. I couldn't write anything else. I stared at the page, and an idea popped into my head. I couldn't write, but I could draw.
I didn't go to school for long back in Mexico, but I loved drawing as a kid. I drew with sticks in the dirt, flowers, birds, my mother's face. I drew them all. I picked up the pencil and started to draw.
I drew a huge hand, with dirty fingernails. This big hand was snatching coins away from a small pile. I wrote the word hour on top of the coins. I didn't know much English, but Maria taught me how to write hours. Next to the big hand, I wrote a name, Frank. I saw this name on the work schedule every single day, so I knew how to spell it. F-R-A-N-K. After staring at it for 5 years, I could write it in my sleep. When I finished the drawing, I stared at it for a long time. That hand looked just like Frank's, rough, dirty, and greedy. Those small coins represented our money. He took it all so casually, like grabbing a handful of loose change. He never understood that those coins paid for our meals, our children's classes, and our bus rides. Early the next morning, I headed to a copy shop. It was inside a small shopping center next to the laundry room. The owner was a Korean man named Lee. I told him I needed 50 copies of my drawing. He glanced at the picture, frowned a little, but didn't say a word. He made the copies and charged me $10. $10 was enough for my bus fares over 4 days. Still, I paid the money. Some things matter far more than bus tickets. During the lunch break, when everyone was away, I slipped 1 copy into every staff locker. 1 drawing for each locker. Once I was done, I stood in the changing room and looked at the rows of lockers. I had no idea what would happen next. Maybe the women would throw the drawings away. Maybe they'd get scared, or worse, report me to Frank. But I decided to take a chance. I gambled that they were just as angry as I were. The other women started coming back to work in the afternoon. One woman opened her locker and spotted the drawing. She froze, stared at it for a moment, then quietly put it in her pocket. Then the second, third, fourth woman, everyone saw the picture. No one made a fuss, no one whispered to each other, but I knew they'd all seen it. I could tell from the way they looked at me. Their eyes held surprise, gratitude, fear, and something else I couldn't name. Hope. Maria found me in the changing room, holding the drawing with her eyes all red.
Rosa, did you draw this? I did this. I wanted to get everyone their overtime pay. Are you out of your mind? Maybe I am. You can either throw the painting away or take it and snitch.
She folded the drawing up and put it in her pocket.
I'm not throwing this away. I'll keep it, to remind myself someone is fighting for what's ours.
In just one day, 50 drawings reached 50 lockers and 50 women. Some cried, some smiled, some stayed quiet, and others burned with anger. Not a single person ratted me out. Everyone knew Frank was stealing our pay. They also knew HR would never help us. But today, someone had drawn their frustration out for everyone to see. A simple drawing. No complicated English, no legal jargon, no confusing forms. Just a big greedy hand and a pile of coins. Anyone could understand it. You didn't need to read or write, you just needed eyes to see. I couldn't fall asleep that night. I tossed and turned in bed, wide awake. My husband asked what was wrong, but I told him everything was fine. He stared up at the ceiling for a long while, then said,
Rosa, I know what you're doing. I'm with you, but please be careful.
I held his hand and promised him I would.
But I knew being careful wouldn't be enough. Frank wasn't just one bad man, he was part of a corrupt system. My drawing wasn't just about one hand, it stood for the whole unfair system. Maria called me the next morning.
Rosa, tomorrow morning we're going to HR together.
All right. How many of us will come? I don't know. At least 10, I think. Maybe all 50 of us. Rosa, do you realize what you're doing? You're organizing a protest. You could get fired for this. I'm not afraid. I am scared. But I'm tired of living in fear.
I know she will make the same choice as me. At 6 o'clock the next morning, more than 40 women stood outside the laundry room door. Not 10, not 20, over 40 of us. All of us wore our work uniforms and held the drawing in our hands. No one spoke, no one whispered to one another. We just stood there, united like a solid wall. Frank showed up, coffee cup in hand as usual. He falls the second he saw the crowd.
What are you all doing here? Get back to work!
No one moved an inch. Maria stepped forward, holding up the drawing.
Frank, is this hand yours? Frank's face drained of all color.
What ridiculous nonsense is this?
This is your hand, stealing our overtime pay.
That's a lie! I haven't stolen a cent from anyone!
Then explain why my overtime hours were cut short. She pulled out her pay stop and held it right in front of his face. I worked 8 overtime days, but you only counted 3. Where did the other 5 days go?
It's a system error. This has nothing to do with me.
A system error? Every single month? And it only messes up for us laundry workers, only for us women?
The rest of the women started speaking up one after another.
Mine too. Me as well. Same here.
Our voices grew louder and louder, crashing over Frank like a rising tide. Frank stepped backward until his back hit the wall. His coffee spilled all over his hand, burning him, and he cursed out loud. He pulled out his phone and made a call. I couldn't hear what he said, but I knew exactly who he was calling. Mike from HR, his brother-in-law. 10 minutes later, Mike arrived. He was in his 30s, dressed in a sharp suit with his hair slicked back. His belly wasn't quite as big as Frank's.
What's going on here? Why aren't you at work? Are you trying to cause trouble?
We're not causing trouble. We're here to claim the pay we're owed.
Claim your pay? Do you even know how to file a complaint? You need written letters, solid evidence, and follow official procedures. Standing here like this counts as a strike, and you can all be fired for striking.
We can't write English, so we drew a picture instead. Can you understand this?
What is this? This is an insult! You're damaging the hotel's reputation! Every single one of you will write a formology!
No one moved. No one said a word. I stepped forward. I didn't plan what to say. Mr. Mike, I can't write an apology letter. I don't know how to write in English, but I can draw. I could draw you, standing right beside Frank, taking money out of our pockets. Do you want to see that? He didn't speak. He turned around and stormed off. Frank snook away right after him, stayed right where we were at the laundry room door. Not one of us went back to work. We all stood our ground.
The hotel's general manager finally showed up. His name was Anderson. He was in his 50s, with gray hair and thin gold-rimmed glasses. His suit fit him perfectly, his shoes were polished shiny, and he walked with calm dignity. He walked up to our group and stared at the drawings for a long time.
Who drew this picture?
I did.
What's your name?
Rosa Mendoza.
How long have you worked in the laundry room?
5 years.
Why didn't you come to me directly with this problem?
Because I didn't know who you were. I only knew Frank.
To everyone here, we're just numbers on a list.
Anderson fell silent.
If Frank has indeed been stealing your overtime pay, he will face serious consequences.
How can we trust you?
You don't have to trust me. Trust the evidence. These pictures are solid evidence.
A whole week passed, and we heard nothing at all. Frank came to work every day as usual, acting like nothing had happened. But he stopped pointing his finger at us to assign extra work.
He'll get away with this. Mike is his family after all.
I said nothing. I had no idea what to say. Maybe we really had lost. On the 8th day, Anderson called a full staff meeting in the grand banquet hall, and every single employee attended. Waiters, cooks, janitors, laundry workers, hundreds of people filled the room. Anderson stood on the stage holding a file bucket.
Last week, laundry room staff filed complaints about stolen overtime pay. We have completed a full investigation. The results confirm your complaints are completely true. Laundry supervisor Frank abused his position over the past 3 years, stealing wages from female staff. The total amount stolen is $68,000.
I heard people mutter angrily, and others start to cry.
68,000, not 144,000. He lowballed the total.
Frank has been terminated from his position. Mike, the HR manager, is also fired for covering up his crimes. All stolen overtime pay will be reimbursed to everyone within 1 month.
The room erupted in thunderous applause.
Rosa, you did it.
I didn't do this alone. We all did this together.
This incident has revealed a much bigger problem. Many of our employees, especially those who don't speak English, have no way to file complaints when wronged. We will establish a female staff wage review committee. Staff representatives will check all pay stubs to make sure everyone receives the money they've earned.
I would like to nominate Rosa Mendoza to be the first chairperson of this committee.
I was stunned. Applause burst out again. I walked slowly up to the stage. I stood beside Anderson, my hands, legs, and lips all trembling nonstop.
Rosa, please say a few words.
I cannot speak English, but I can draw. I drew that hand. You all saw it. That was the Vince Frank's hand. They stole our money, our time, and our dignity. But today, we got everything back. It wasn't because of my drawing. It was because we all stood up together.
Some people in the crowd cried. Others clapped loudly. Maria stood in the front row, watching me with a big smile on her face. After the meeting, Anderson invited me to have coffee in the executive lounge on the top floor. I had never set foot in this place before. The carpet was so thick that walking on it felt like treading on clouds. The sofas were incredibly soft, and I sunk right into them the moment I sat down. Outside the window stretched Chicago's skyline, and Lake Michigan glowed deep blue like a precious gem. Anderson sat across from me with a coffee cup in his hand.
Rosa, would you be willing to serve as the committee chair?
I can't write in English.
I'll arrange people to help you.
I don't have much education.
You have something far more valuable. You have courage. Courage matters more than book learning.
Why are you helping us?
Because of my daughter. She's the same age as yours, and she's a dance student too. If someone stole her dance tuition, I'd be furious. You're a mother just like me, yet you didn't fly off the handle. You simply drew a picture.
That drawing is the best thing I've ever created in my life.
Then keep using your talent. Draw out every injustice you see, and we'll fix things side by side.
The hotel hired an English tutor for me. Her name was Catherine, a retired teacher in her 60s with gray hair and thick-rimmed glasses. She came 3 times a week for 2 hours each session, in a small office behind the laundry room. We sat across from each other, with an English dictionary laid out on the table.
Rosa, let's start with our first word today. What word is it? We. It means all of us together.
We? I repeated the word over and over. We. It wasn't just me, it was all of us.
I thought back to my drawing, where I'd written hours above the coins. Maria had helped me write word back then, but now I was going to learn it for myself. Catherine, can you teach me how to write we? We.
It wasn't nervousness, it was pure joy. I was so glad I could finally write this word. The Female Staff Wage Review Committee was officially set up. There were 7 members in total, coming from different departments across the hotel. We had representatives from the laundry room, housekeeping, dining balls, and the kitchen. I was voted chairperson. It wasn't because of my education, but because of that simple drawing. Maria took on the role of secretary, keeping all our records. We held a meeting every month to go over every female employee's pay stubs. If we spotted mistakes, we'd check with the finance department right away and make sure the missing pay was issued. In our first month, we reviewed 120 pay stubs. We found 12 errors and arranged for over $3,000 in back pay. It wasn't a huge sum, but every single dollar belonged to the people who earned it. I always thought I was the only one getting shortchanged. I never knew so many others went through the same thing.
I improved rapidly. After 6 months, I could write simple sentences. The sentences were basic, yet every meaning came across loud and clear.
Rosa, you're a wonderful student.
I'm not a great student, I just have strong motivation.
What drives you?
I want to write. Words can get our message across faster than pictures.
One day, a housekeeping worker came to see me. Her name was Lydia. She was from Ethiopia and had lived in the U.S. for 8 years.
I was asked to work overtime, but no overtime pay was provided. Yet when the slow season came, no one got extra rest, and no overtime pay was ever made up.
I asked Maria to write a formal complaint letter, and we sent it to Anderson. Anderson launched an investigation and confirmed her story was true. After getting her money, Lydia gave me a handwritten card. Her name was Lydia, she was from Ethiopia and had lived in the U.S. for 8 years. There was a pressed real flower stuck on the card, not a drawing. I kept the card on my desk and looked at it every day. The committee kept running for 2 full years. We helped hundreds of female workers and recovered over $100,000 in unpaid wages. Rosa, how did you manage to do all this? I didn't do it. We did it together. Every one of you is part of this work. When you see unfair treatment, speak up. We fight together. No one stands alone. We stand as a group.
Anderson retired not long after. Before he left, he invited me out for a meal. We dined at the hotel's Chinese restaurant with a whole table full of dishes.
Rosa, do you know the real reason I chose to help you?
Because of your daughter.
That's part of it, but not all. You were scared, yet you acted anyway. That's true courage. Courage is contagious. Your bravery inspired me and I inspired others. The whole hotel has changed for the better now. This is a reward from the hotel. Thanks to we avoided costly lawsuits.
I can't accept this.
Why not?
This money doesn't belong to me alone. It belongs to everyone. Please donate it to the committee as our operating funds.
Rosa, you are truly one of a kind. You've shown me that money isn't the most important thing. What matters is fairness.
The check was donated to the committee. We used the money to hire a lawyer. Her name was Emily. She was young, wore glasses, and spoke quickly. She came once a week, setting up a table with legal documents in the laundry break room. Anyone with work problems could go to her for free legal advice. After being fired, Frank got a new job at another hotel, still working as a laundry supervisor. Word got around that he'd started cutting overtime pay there too, using the same old tricks. Same tactics, same greedy attitude. I wrote a letter to the general manager of that hotel. My English writing was still rough, but the message was clear. The letter read, "My name is Rosa Mendoza. Frank used to work at our hotel and was fired on the hotel used for stealing employees' overtime pay. He is now employed by your hotel. Please keep a close eye on him." I had no idea if the letter would work, but I had spoken out, and I had no regrets. A year later, I received a reply from that hotel. They told me they'd investigated Frank and confirmed he was stealing overtime wages once again. They fired him right away. Frank lost his job a second time. I never found out where he went next, and I didn't care. What mattered was that the women he'd wronged got their hard-earned money back. My daughter turned 15, and her dancing grew more and more skilled. Daughter dance teacher said she had real talent and could enter a dance competition. But competitions cost money. Entry fees, costumes, travel expenses. It added up to over $1,000. I couldn't afford that sum all at once.
The committee can lend you the money.
No, thank you. I'll figure this out on my own. I picked up extra overtime shifts, standing 4 more hours each day. My hands grew more charped, yet I didn't mind a single bit. This was my daughter's dream. On the day of the competition, I took time off work to watch her perform. She stood on the stage in a pink dress with her hair styled up, looking just like a little princess. She performed a ballet piece to soft music, moving gently and gracefully. When she finished, she bowed, and the audience broke into applause. She spotted me in the crowd and smiled. That smile was worth more than any trophy. After 3 years as committee chair, I stepped down from the position. It wasn't that I no longer wanted to help, I just wanted to do something new. I'd learned enough English to write basic letters now. I wanted to help more people, but everyone in our community. Our neighborhood was full of immigrants, people just like me. Many couldn't speak English, didn't know their legal rights, and stayed silent when they were treated unfairly. I wanted to be the one to help them. I partnered with a local community center to launch a workshop on workers' rights. Every Saturday afternoon, we set up tables and handouts in the community center's meeting room. I didn't stand there lecturing people. I simply shared my own story. I told them about my experience, about that drawing, and about the meaning of the word we. Only 8 people showed up for our first session. They sat quietly and listened to me, and I saw a glimmer of hope in their eyes.
My name is Rosa. I once couldn't write a single English word, but I learned to write we. And you can too.
The workshop ran for a whole year, and we helped over 100 people. Some got back their unpaid wages, others found better jobs, and many learned how to write their own names. There was an elderly woman in her 70s who'd worked as a nanny for 20 years. Her employer never paid for her Social Security, never gave her a raise, and never let her have days off. She'd never dared to speak up. Terrified of losing her job, I went with her to talk to her employer. The employer was a young woman who lived in a luxury house and drove an expensive car. She looked at us with obvious annoyance.
Who are you two? We're from the community center. This woman has worked for you for 20 years. You have failed to pay her Social Security, denied her raises and days offs. All of this is against the law. You need to pay her compensation.
Who do you think you are?
We stand by the law. We have a lawyer on our side. Do you want to take this to court? The employer backed down. She paid all the overdue Social Security and compensation. The elderly woman cried as she received her money.
Thank you, Rosa.
You don't need to thank me. You were the one who finally found the courage to stand up for yourself. Lakefront Grand Hotel held its 50th anniversary celebration. Even though Anderson had retired, he was invited back to give a speech. He invited me as well.
Come along, Rosa. You are part of this hotel's story.
I went to the event, wearing a red dress my daughter had bought for me. I stood in the banquet hall surrounded by people in formal suits and fancy dresses. I felt a little out of place, but when Anderson spotted me, he walked over, took my hand, and led me up onto the stage.
Today, I want to introduce someone to all of you. She is not a manager, not a supervisor, not someone with an official title. She is a laundry room worker. Her name is Rosa Mendoza.
5 years ago, she drew a simple picture. A greedy big hand stealing a pile of small coins. That single drawing changed this entire hotel. She showed us that even the most ordinary frontline workers hold great power.
The audience burst into applause. My hands shook as I stood there, but I didn't shed a tear. I'd cried enough in the past. I'd cried when I drew the picture, on the day we marched into HR, and the moment everyone received their back pay. Now, I just smiled. One day, a package arrived for me. When I opened it, I found a painting. A portrait of me. In the painting, I stood on a platform holding my original drawing facing a crowd of people. In the bottom right corner, the words "Thank you, Rosa" were written. There was no signature on it. My English kept improving, and I could now write long letters fluently. I wrote a letter to the hotel management team. I suggested they print guidebooks for every employee, listing workers' rights in English, Spanish, Chinese, and Polish. The book would explain how wages are calculated, how to file complaints, and how to defend one's rights. The management agreed to my proposal. The guidebooks were printed and placed in every staff break room, one for each employee. I picked up a copy and flipped to the last page. A line was printed there. This guidebook was initiated by Rosa Mendoza. I stared at those words for a long time. My name, printed formally on paper. They were tears of joy. I was happy that people could finally see me, know my name. My daughter got into college. She didn't choose dance as her major. She chose social work.
Mom, I want to help people, just like you do.
I held her hand tightly.
You don't have to be like me. You can do even greater things.
She smiled.
Mom,
You're the bravest person I know. I admire you very much.
It's not bravery. I had no other choice. If you don't stand up, you can only hide. And I was tired of hiding.
The hotel hired a new laundry supervisor, a capable woman in her 30s named Lisa. On her first day on the job, she came to find me.
Rosa, you're a longtime staff member here. I'd like your advice. How can we make the workers happier? Treat everyone with respect, learn their real names, and never steal their overtime pay.
I would never do that. As a woman myself, I know how much that money means to everyone. And she kept her word. She checked every pay slab personally each month and fixed any mistakes.
All the laundry workers grew fond of her. They'd say Lisa is different. I think she's not different. She's just doing what a good supervisor should do. One day, a young girl came looking for me. She was in her early 20s, carrying a backpack, clearly a college student. She waited for me right outside the laundry room until my shift ended.
Are you Rosa?
Yes, I am.
I'm a student from A University. I'm writing a paper on immigrant workers' rights, and someone told me to come talk to you.
Who sent you?
An elderly woman. She said you helped her a lot.
Is she doing well now?
She's doing great. She asked me to give you this.
The girl pulled a card out of her backpack. There was a drawing of a flower on it, with a note, "Rosa, thank you for letting me know I was never alone." I looked at the card for a long time, then slipped it into my pocket. What would you like to ask me?
I want to know how everything started for you.
It all began with a single drawing. I took the student to the copy shop, the very same place where I'd made copies of my drawing 5 years earlier. The owner was still there. When he saw me,
Rosa, it's good to see you.
You remember me?
Of course I do. You copied 50 drawings here once. I kept one and put it up on my wall.
He pointed to the wall behind him, covered with posters, notices, and photos. I stared at it for a long time. The paper had turned yellow and the edges were curled, but the drawing was still there.
Do you still draw these days?
Not anymore. Now I write instead.
What do you write?
Letters. Letters to people who need a hand. The student finished her paper and sent it to me. The title was The Revolution of a Single Hand. She wrote about the drawing, about Frank, about Anderson, about the committee, and about me. Rosa Mendana is not a hero. She is just an ordinary person. An ordinary person who refused to keep being taken advantage of. Her weapon was not a gun or a fist. It was a paintbrush. It was a drawing, and one simple word, we. I printed out the paper and placed it on my desk. I kept it alongside all the cards, letters, and memories I'd collected over the years. It was my life's story. Not the story of a hero, but the story of a regular person. My daughter graduated from college. She stood on stage with her diploma, and I applauded loudly from the audience. With her social work degree, she was ready to dedicate herself to helping others too. She was different from me. She spoke fluent English, wrote well, and knew how to use computers. She was more skilled than I ever was, but she had the same kind heart. Her first job after graduation was at the very same community center where I worked. She worked as a workers' rights advisor, focusing on helping immigrant communities.
Mom, I'm taking over your work.
It's not taking over. We're walking this road together, side by side. I started a new class at the community center, teaching immigrants who couldn't speak English how to write their own names. They sat in the classroom with pens in hand, writing the words, "We are here," in shaky, unregan letters. I stood at the front and looked out at everyone. I thought back to myself 5 years before, sitting at my kitchen table with a pen, unable to write a single English word. Now here I stood, teach others how to write. I wasn't clever or gifted, I just kept trying. The hotel's 50th anniversary yearbook was published. It was a thick book filled with photos and names of staff. On the very last page was my old drawing. The big hand, the small coins, the word hours. Beneath it was the line, Rosa Mendoza, laundry room staff. This drawing changed us all. My hands trembled as I held the yearbook. My drawing was officially printed in the hotel's history book, no longer just a copied picture. I burst into tears, and Maria cried alongside me. We hugged each other and wept. After the tears came smiles. A journalist came to interview me. Rosa, do you consider yourself successful? What does success mean to you? Having money, fame, and power? I have none of those things. I only learned how to write one word, we. That doesn't sound like success to most people, but it is success for me. The word we means I am never alone. When people stand together as one group, we can achieve what no single person could ever do. That is true success. After the interview was published, countless people read it.
Many people sent me letters saying, "Rosa, I've learned to write we too. Thank you." I picked up a paintbrush again and made a new drawing. This one was not a complaint, but a tribute. I drew a group of women standing side by side, holding their pay stubs and smiling happily. I named the painting We, and wrote the word we in the bottom corner. I gave this painting to the hotel. Every woman who walks into the laundry room can see it.
Who are these people? This is all of us.
They laugh warmly. Their smiles are different from the ones 5 years ago. The hotel moved me to the administrative department to work in staff training. I didn't teach job skills. I taught everyone about their legal rights. I stood in front of new employees and told them my story, about the drawing and the meaning of we. As they listened, some cried, some smiled, and everyone applauded. I don't know how much of my words they kept in mind, but I know at least one person will remember the word we. Even one person is enough. Today, a new letter arrived for me. It was written in Spanish, not English. It came all the way from Mexico. I opened the envelope and pulled out a photograph. The photo showed an elderly woman standing in front of a small house, wearing a bright smile. It was my mother. She had passed away 10 years ago. On the back of the photo was a note. "Rose, I watch over you from heaven. You've done wonderfully." I never found out who sent it. Maybe my sister, a neighbor, or someone my mother had asked to mail it before she left this world. It didn't matter. What mattered was that I saw her smile again. I held the photo tightly and cried for a long while. Then I wiped away my tears, walked to the desk, picked up a pen, and wrote one word on a blank sheet: we. That is the greatest lesson that simple drawing taught me. It's not the paintbrush, it's this word. I folded the paper and put it in my pocket.